In the previous episode, Johnson Aggregates platted out several new neighborhoods south of their mining operation and built the first two phases of their plan. When taking their plans to City Council, they were informed of the city's desire to attract a professional sports team to the area and the synergy that Johnson Aggregates' plans may have with the cities. Seeing dollar signs, Sheila Johnson quickly reaches out to the CEOs of the Lewis Lumber Company and Sterling Real Estate Holdings to gauge their interest in forming a partnership to bring a professional soccer team to Verde Beach. Both CEOs jump at the idea, seeing the potential personal financial benefits since teams have exploded in value in recent years, as well as the potential benefits to their businesses, since box suites are mighty impressive to potential clients. They devise a plan to approach the city council with a proposal to build the stadium, but only if these poor billionaires can have a little bit of assistance from the city in the form of a TIF district. This TIF district would cover 100% of the infrastructure costs associated with the development, including the rail improvements, a new interchange, a local street network, and half the stadium itself. Why not? I'm not bitter about vice reform at all. They also let City Hall know that they'll make the offer to Van Buren if they were turned down in Verde Beach, since Sheila is the governor of Superior and all. Verde Beach officials receive intense pressure from soccer fans and eventually relent, committing public funding for everything the consortium of CEOs has requested. Today, we're going to prep the rail improvements in the area as well as the interchange. It's going to be a challenging build, but I think that we're up to the task. But before we jump in, if you like this kind of story-driven content, please let me know by hitting the like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and comment letting me know what you think. And if you don't have anything to say, why not just drop an emoji letting me know what your favorite sport is? And without any further ado, let's jump right in. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach, and I'm excited about today's episode because we're going to build a lot of infrastructure. And truthfully, we could probably call this week Infrastructure Week. The other two episodes coming out this week are going to be very infrastructure intensive as well. But this is going to be a special one because we're going to have to do something I almost never do. We're going to do this. Pause. Everything is going to be paused today because we are going to completely demolish our rail network. And let me tell you why. So I want to bring rail transit into this stadium build, but we've got a problem. These tracks here are for cargo. So I know that this is the #1 comment I received in the last episode related to infrastructures. We've got to make sure we have passenger train service here. And I completely agree, but we're going to have to be really strategic about that because this is our passenger service. So this opens up an opportunity for us. If we're going to rebuild these lines, we could scoot these over, potentially add another interchange here as well. And rather than having this asymmetric interchange, we could have a full interchange. And then we're going to have one interchange right here. So we've got a lot of work to do. This is going to be a challenge because we're going to have to rebuild basically everything that's here. And you might wonder, how reasonable and feasible is this? I think it's reasonable and feasible, but it would happen in phases, which is kind of funny because I talked about phases of development in the previous episode. But every single project, be it a highway project, a rail project, they all have phases too, because you can't generally just shut down a highway for a year. You're going to have to shift it over. So you might see this lane shifting over here and everyone's here and then they shift around the project. This is City Skylines. We're not going to get into that level of detail. This is a game and it still has to be fun. And phasing an interstate project is not fun. I don't think that the engineers who work at it like it either. So we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is eliminate a lot of rail right now. And then we are going to reconstruct this. And I'm actually really excited about this because I've really not liked what we've done here. You got this weird lumpy, bumpy thing. I think that if you were going to do this sort of rail coordination, it's already so incredibly expensive and so incredibly difficult. The rail companies are just notoriously challenging to work with. Just do what you want. Get the whole project done. So we're doing utility relocations. We are doing rail relocations. We're going to probably have to move a pillar on this bridge. And we're going to start out right here. So we're going to use our slope terrain tool, bring it to its max height. Use our medium-sized brush, considering that'll cover everything. We're going to right mouse click up here, left click right about here, and slope this up gently. I noticed one thing right off the bat, and that is that this curve probably is going to be a challenge for us. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to send these train tracks just straight down. And I thought that maybe elevating this could do the trick. I don't love what this does either. So then you get this little bump here. It's just not great. It's just not great. With a mod, this would be very easy to fix, but without mods, it won't be. So what we're going to do is spread this out a bit more. So let's worry about these connections first. We'll get these as far down as we can. Now, a couple of things that I want you to remember. This inside track here is the cargo. The outside track here, that's the passenger rail. There we go. We have a bridge pillar here that's in the way. And truthfully, our track is probably not quite low enough anyway. So we are going to demolish this, lower this a bit further. And now we'll try right mouse clicking up here. Actually, we're going to spread this underneath just a little bit further. Right mouse click up here, left click down here and pull this up. Spread those contours out. Much better. Got a bit of a ridge here. Let's see if we can take that down. I'm going to make it way worse. We'll deal with that when the time comes, and the time is not right now. Let's just run this straight down. And we're going to need to eliminate just a portion of this bridge. I think, in reality, you're just moving the pillar. Not as significant a project. I mean, it's still a very significant project. And the pillars do move over time on their own. An interesting thing to take a look at. If you ever want to be freaked out, look and see if all the bridge pillars are in the right place in bridges near you. You'll know which bridges not to use as often. Got a couple in my community that are shockingly inappropriately placed right now. So I'll just gonna leave it there. And while we're here, let's get this interchange built. Oh, and this is frustrating. You can see that this height is off just a little bit. So we've got the height of the highway to contend with here. So we're going to pull this out just a little bit. So I'm right mouse clicking on the contour on the highway and then pulling down. And it's flatter over here, so probably less of a concern on this side. And an easy way to make these exactly the same is to draw a line here, get a 90, and then use your curved road tool. Come up there to that line, and now you've made a perfect connection, perfectly mirrored, perfectly perfect. Now we'll do the same thing here, add that connection, send this over, use our road guidelines to line things up. Send this out. Here's the end of the straight segment, and now we'll curve in. Perfect. And now we can connect across the highway and upgrade everything here. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It is completely acceptable. So we're gonna be happy with that. So the challenging thing is going to be making this connection here. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to start by curving generously here. And then I'm going to really make this curve gentle. So it'll be really slow coming around, but it's a nice connection. We're not seeing any lumpies and bumpies here. Much nicer. So I am concerned about a bridge pillar right here. I'll bring that out to right about here. And now I'm going to try to curve this. I'm going to use the entire curve length here. And in this spot, it's fine. So that worked out just fine. It almost makes me think that maybe I should have done that here as well. Let's give this another go, just a little mulligan, and see if this works better for us. It's incredibly steep. That is insane. I wish that I could do something better here. And I think that we've got to try. So what we're going to do, we've already broken this bridge. We might as well just go all the way. And we're going to slope this down here. So this is still very steep. The speeds would be very slow. So what we're going to have to do to make this work is begin this curve sooner. There we go. That's still very steep. This would be a very challenging trek for a train, but maybe it's a little bit more reasonable than what we were doing before. So now we're going to make and reestablish this connection here. That looks pretty bad. We're going to try to fix that as best we can. Okay, so I was able to bridge this whole thing, and that has made it look a little bit better. So we're going to need to take this down just a notch, and then we can feather this out to make it look a little bit more natural. Yeah, feeling much better about this. This is just the start of all the work that we need to do, though. Now, that said, anytime you can get rid of some lumpies and bumpies and make it look that smooth, I dig it. I dig it a lot. Now, this, I don't exactly... There's something funky with this bridge. I'm going to try to not let perfect be the enemy of good, Because I could, oh, I can't. It's not even facing in the right direction. What was I doing? I don't know that that is all that much better, but it's straighter. So, winning?
Ding dong, you're wrong.
I'm just gonna step away, because we have lots of other work to do. Like, this could be better too. Oh boy, there's so much. I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna send myself into a rage. All right, we're gonna just try to figure out what we're doing here. And what I think we're doing is, there's two things. We could either consolidate these cargo lines. That's one option. We might take that. But I definitely want to send this outside line. And we're going to earn some extra space here. So just use the curved road tool to make that connection. It's a nice sweeping connection. I didn't even need to turn the contours on because I knew it's not good. And it's the best it can be right here. So it is what it is. This has always bugged me, the way that this track looks. So I think we can improve that now. So this line has to connect up at a bare minimum to this middle line. And this is where the consolidation of these tracks could be beneficial for us. So I think where we need to begin now is actually thinking about our interchange, because we might be looking at this being a layered project. So again, I'm going to turn the contours back on, and we need to think logically about this interchange. Let's start over here. We're going to build our ramps. That's the very first place that we're going to start. And this is probably the easy one. These are the ramps on and off on this side. And then we're going to need some ramps over here as well. There we go. We're using our dirt roads because we have a lot of flexibility with these. So this is going to need to connect into an arterial. So let's plan that arterial right now. So right here, this will be the principal arterial coming into this area. We're going to take this ramp and send this over the rail here. And I'm going to boost this up just a bit. As you see, I'm not even sure that we should have taken this up. We might need to take this one down. And I think we're going to need to add a pillar before the train track. And the trick is going to be getting this to have a nice connection here without it looking too crazy. That's pretty good. It's really large. You've got to remember, interchanges are huge. So this is the way that you get in and through. And then we're also going to have another one leaving in this same location. Okay, so lots of work just trying to make sure that these are absolutely perfect, because this is going to be a very important connection. And what I settled on is a couplet here. So we're going to have an arterial couplet. Wow, those are really close. We'll turn this into a regular collector right through there, but it's a pretty tight connection. So now we need to get this connection. Let's think about our directionality, and maybe we'll even start converting some of these right off the bat so we don't forget. There we go. And there's a little bit of a rise here that I don't love. There we go. So now we need this to connect in, and this actually has to line up right here. So there's a couple of ways that we could approach this. I think the easiest way would be to get this over here, but that is going to be quite the trick because we have a lot of ground to make up. The other approach would be to come right here and join in. So think we have to make this connection into here. What's the easiest way to do that? We're going to add a bridge span here. There we go. Nice connection right into where this collector will soon be. And then we have one more movement that we need to facilitate through here, and that is leaving. So that is, again, going to be a tricky movement, probably the trickiest one, because we need to cross the highway completely. And I'm going to build this highway back up to where it was so that we can actually get our crossing right here. And we're going to turn just angle on so I can just slide this back and forth, get as close to the rail line as I have to, get across this, and then make our connection. That made it so much easier. Let's get this fixed so it's the right direction. There we go. And now we've got one more tricky little spot to handle, and that's right here. So for this, again, we need to get this high. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And that is not nearly high enough. So with that in mind, I think we're going to have to go up and over on this side. And truthfully, what I think this calls for is actually lowering this. So I left this hump in the side here, and I think that that was a problem. So we are going to make this ground level. That's going to make this all so much easier for ourselves. Then I had this slightly curving over so that we can have a nice connection over here. This is a very long ramp, I get that, but I think that we need it because of all of the passengers that we're going to have in this area. That queuing distance is going to be very helpful. And there we go. Not perfectly symmetrical, but it's perfectly fine. Now here, we're going to need to, again, we still need to raise up. We need to go even higher, even faster. Okay, so that was a lot of work, but I think that it's all worth it in the end because the consequence is going to be that we have a really nice interchange and it's well thought out, laid out well, and looks logical. And that was the whole point of this. This is always the stressful part though, because now we're going to convert some of our most challenging segments to be highway segments, and sometimes they don't convert. Oh, it looks like we're going to get real lucky. Why did I have to say that? Of course, there's that one tricky one, but we can deal with that. And there we go. It is a huge interchange, but it's going to really do the trick for us here. I think it's always valuable to go through your movements. So if you were coming up this way, you could go that way to get in there. If you were coming this way, you could get back on the highway. If you're coming south, you could get off. And you could also get back on. We're good there. We're very good. So now we need to think about our rail. So you might have thought, oh yeah, we're done. No, we are halfway there. So the rail is the big concern of mine here. Just a quick editor's note. We want to get the passenger rail above ground, but we're not going to build the station just today. Okay, back to the video. So how do we get this rail through here, besides to elevate it above this and then drop it back down? So yeah, we're going to need to begin our elevation fairly quickly. And I've been going up 2 notches. I just want this to be gradual if I can. And we're not quite high enough, which is really unfortunate. And it's also unfortunate that I deleted a portion of the highway. So the other thing that's a fresh challenge here is this ramp. It is conflicting with where our rail wants to be. So we are going to take this ramp back and focus on our rail. So because there's so much transportation going back and forth here, we've got to be really iterative with it and be okay with a bit of imperfection. And now I'm going to turn my road length back on because 12 is that magic number I'm trying to hit to make this gradual. We've actually got a conflict here as well, our local roadway network. So let's build this road. And I don't know that that's the exact alignment, but we just want to make sure that we can get over it, whatever we're doing. And you can see we dropped down too quickly. Now there's a lot that's going to be happening here, and this is going to be a real trick. So we're going to take a beat on this because we're going to relocate some of these utilities. So I know that you might be thinking that's not the height of realism, but here's the thing. I think in this particular instance, in reality, what you have is utilities that are built around. So I'm going to accept a bit of wonkiness here because I think that the game is not giving us all of the opportunities that would be available to us in reality. Sometimes you've got to give yourself one or two, and this is where I'm going to do it. So we'll run that right in between there. And this is the concern I have. We're going to need to relocate this wastewater facility because I want to have a sweeping movement through here. What we're going to do is I've got plans for Myrtle Park, and we'll get into those in just a second, but I want to fix up this interchange before we get to that. There we go. Now we've got all of our movements. There's not a huge amount of space to make our connection here, but we're going to run this basically along the coast, and this will be the main way into our stadium area. We'll have some overflow parking over here, maybe a shuttle service to get people back and forth between the two. We're also going to need to establish a bike connection through here because we want this to be a really multimodal facility. That said, that's not where we're at right now. Right now where we're at is making the rest of our rail connections so we can resume the build once again. So I'm going to run this one down. We need a way to cross back in. So what I think we're going to do, we have these two facilities, and I think that we need to bring them into one. And the reason why is we're not going to have a full movement through here if we don't do that. So like this connection here, this is the main line. It's very important that we have a connection through there. And actually, now that I think of it, this is the main line. It's leaving and coming through. So we don't want to switch the main line. We're going to change this here. Oh boy, Editor Phil here again, and I'm about to make so many mistakes that I'm going to just save you some time. We're going to fix this by the end, but basically I wasn't respecting the movements that I had previously used in this area. So we're going to reestablish those at the very end. This isn't great, but I think this is better than we had before. So we might just live with it for the time being. Now, I want to go underground because this is where we have that gigantic passenger track. And we need to connect up right here with our new bridge that's right here. So I'm going to delete this, pull this all the way back. And then let's get this underneath. Now what I want to do is bring this track that was underground above ground. I noticed something interesting as I was prepping for the episode. If we take a look here at Myrtle Park, almost nobody uses this. So you gotta remember, this is one of the oldest parks in the city. And what we're seeing is that 342 people have ever used this park, 16 in the last week. So I think that we can increase the utility of this park by adding a train station. So that's what we're going to do here. It's going to be a very exciting spot once we get the train through here. And maybe we can redo and finish some of the landscaping through here as well. So to do that, we're going to sweep this back around, keep it elevated, and use one of our new elevated train stations. I think it's going to be a really nice fit through here. So let's go ahead and place this so we know our elevation. And now that we have this, what we're going to do is remove some of the things happening in this park. We will reestablish some of this, but right now is not the time. We're going to focus again on our train station. And that reminds me, we don't have toggleable whiteness, but we can have automatic info view, show that in here, turn that off so we stop having all of this white. Look at that. Perfect. So this is going to face towards this arterial, which I don't love. That said, there's not a lot of traffic here, so I think we can get away with one. And we will place this here. Everyone loves that. All right, so through here, I'm going to have this train track parallel this. So we've got to make a nice crossing of Keller House. So that's the part that I'm struggling with a bit right now. Because again, this comes down to the angle and our pillar. So I'm going to turn on angle only so that I can really control where the pillars are. And I'm cutting across this in kind of an awkward way. If I were to turn here, it's happy. But we're not doing that. So that might mean that we actually have to change where we're crossing. So we're going to demolish this. We need to remember to add one back. So I think normally this would be built into the facility and we would figure it out as part of the architecture. That we don't have that luxury in City Skylines. We can't create unique facilities unless we have Move It, which we don't have. So just another demonstration of why Move It is such an excellent mod. Probably the most essential mod of all of them, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. And we're kind of forced into this awkward connection, which in my opinion means that we're changing Keller House. Because it's a lot easier to change a road than it is to change a rail line. So I'm going to take part of Keller House down. And then we are going to reconstruct this. And again, all of our snap twos here. Curved road tool. Lovely, beautiful connection. Now for Keller House, we'll come through here. And I think we could just turn this ever so slightly. Then use our curved road tool with our road guidelines. Find that angle there. After we pull this down a little bit more. Now through this section, I don't want to put these big palm trees because they'll stick up through the road. So we are going to go with something a little bit smaller. Not a great aesthetic there, but I think it's fine. So I did have to break a number of paths through here to make this work. So we're going to need to reestablish some of these. There we go, a way to cross the road. And now we have these other pedestrian paths that we need to connect up as well. We're going to have to rebuild some of these because they're just in conflict with the new rail line. So I understand that for some folks, they would be very disappointed because now they have this rail line that's going to be loud, that is going straight through their neighborhood. For other folks, they're going to look at this and say, you know what? I'm willing to accept the noise because it's so valuable to have a train station going directly to downtown Verde Beach that I am willing to accept whatever to have this opportunity. So this would be a very controversial project. I have no qualms about that. I absolutely realize that would be the case. And in fact, I would assume that in the comments, we're seeing some active discussion about whether this was the right move or not for Verde Beach. And I think that people with I think level heads would need to prevail on this one because there would be a lot of controversy. Okay, I'm going to add a side gate here. Oh, and it's already occupied right here. And the reason I'm adding that is we need to have some sort of connection in, and I'd like it to remain in the park. So now is probably our biggest challenge, and that is making this connection here with our existing rail facility. So I'm going to remove that whole path that was going through there. We're going to grab this rail connection and start our descent. And it almost looks like it's impossible for me not to destroy this. So we'll just relocate it slightly. I don't love the way that looks. I think that we can do better. So we are going to try. There we go. That is a much better connection. So nice and straight through there. Little bit of a lump here. I don't know that we could do much to fix that. We'll try because we always try. There we go. I think I like that more. Now let's get this path connection underneath here again, and it lets me do it. And what we can do through here, let's get this to curve nicely. And we're going to run a path back here. So we need to switch the sides that this is on. So that was one of the main reasons I wanted to make sure that we're crossing back there. We're going to send this back here and then meander it around as much as we can. This is a very space-constrained area. All right, we are almost at the point where we can resume the build, which is really exciting. So I want to say that this may be the longest that we've ever built paused, but we're not quite there yet. The main reason why we're not quite there is our water system is going to fail. At least I believe it's going to. So I want to take a look. We're close. So let's take a look at and see what would fit best here. So we were using the Advanced Inland Eco Water Treatment Plant that provides 16,000 cubic meters of processing per week. We would need 3 of these. And I don't know if we can make these fit, but that might be our best solution if we want to keep this a compact facility. This is, again, me responding to game mechanics. I can't do what I'd like to do, which would be to build on top of that. So we'll just play the game a bit. We can fit one there. Let's see how many units across this was. 240. So I think if I add a road right here, I can fit one more plant. on either side. So that is what we wanted to do. And now I'm going to add the water pipes to connect these up. And now is the moment, the point of no return, where we see if this thing works. I am very nervous. So let's resume it and we'll see. Oh boy. So our trains are making their way through, crossing on. This is a very short segment. I have a feeling there'll be conflicts here. In fact, as I look at this, we may want to back this up even further, but we're going to let that go for a little while. There's one thing we haven't done yet, and that is create this bridge across here, which is something I care quite a bit about. So we're going to establish this bridge. And actually, we're going to need to pause this because it's more water work. And that's not terrible, but I don't love it either. And the idea being here that we could consolidate these. So we need to make our roadway connection here. So this interchange will provide access not just to our stadium, but also to our other neighborhood over here, which has been completely lacking access. So this is very valuable. So the city, while they're upset that they're being forced to do all of this infrastructure for the developer, I think that the city's getting something out of it. So we are going to switch this down to a 2-lane once we know where our stadium road goes. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it a 4-lane road, just kind of ending into the bridge, but know that that's the game plan here. And oh, that is brutal. This is too tight. We can't actually make it work. So maybe we just skip lane mathematics for the time being and see how this works. So I will go into this with a 2-lane. You have a choice here of which way you want to go. And look at this. There are already folks using this because it's a valuable connection. All right. Let's take a look at our water to make sure that we're safe there. We are good. Things are looking good there. And we need to add in, we've got a passenger high-speed train going right there. So we need to add a stop at this particular location. And let's see where this line goes. So this is our space line. So this is the line that goes all the way from the Space Center to downtown Verde Beach. And now with a stop all the way in Myrtle Park. That is great. So there we go. I'm really liking that. We need to jazz up this park though. It's feeling a little bit sad. And at this point, I think we're going to have a lot of people using this. So look at that. Our total number of visitors has not really budged. So let's add more to this park. And I'm also curious, take a look at our land values. It's going to really increase the land values around here. But we need to build up a forest behind this. I think that that would be something that this neighborhood, to get this built here, would need to feel is going to occur. Some sort of sound dampening, because this would be very disruptive to an established older neighborhood at this point. Okay, so now you're probably looking at this thinking, you gave me no indication that this is what you were going to do. And as I was going through this, it just kind of made me realize that I've not really given Myrtle Park the love it deserves. So as a concession for this project, we are going to redo the landscaping in the park and add in a bunch of what will be very tall oak trees to block some of the noise that we've had historically in this area. So if we take a look, we can see that that adds a ton of noise. We've got road noise as well. And this would not exactly be a very serene park. But I think by going through here and adding these trees, you can actually see as I add these that the sound dissipates in the park. And that is huge for this entire neighborhood. These trees are absorbing the noise. And that is something that we think about in reality when we're looking at landscaping plans for places as well. Trees have the ability to block noise, to block lights, and that's why they're so valuable. And they make a place feel more humane. Okay, so you can see that, look what this has done to the park itself. It's taken the noise and made it very minimal, very tolerable. And now we're going to mix this up, add in some additional landscaping through here, just to add some additional color, especially in areas where there's just a lot to see. And I'm adding 2 of these. Let's see what these are. These are small beech trees in between each of our oaks so that we are really blocking that traffic view. And I'm interested in seeing what this does to our sound. I think it's going to be quite impressive. From the path, no sound at all, really, just a little bit. So that's great. Okay, so we went hard on the landscaping on the outside, and now on the inside, we're gonna add in some new amenities. So I want a couple of gazebos, some climbing frames. We did eliminate a climbing frame, so it's important to keep that in mind. And it looks like our park doesn't actually extend all the way out, so we're gonna add that as well. Increase the overall coverage of this. And then let's add a couple more things, a gazebo. And I want a landscape along here as well to make this feel a little bit nicer. So just along the track here, we're trying to hide that a little bit. And as I thought about this, this wasn't really usable park space anyway, so I just densely landscaped it here. And if you wanted a gazebo or a place to throw a frisbee, you do that back here, where it's a little bit more serene and a little bit nicer. So there we go. We are having a problem with our jumping of our power, so I'm going to see if we can place one more thing to hopefully get our power to jump over. One more gazebo, and let's see if that did the trick for us. It did. All right, very good. So I'm feeling very good about that. I want to see our ridership here. 135, not bad. Not bad at all. And let's make sure that we're not charging Myrtle Park residents to go through the park. We're not, because that is a concern. Look at that number of visitors. It has jumped through the roof. People walking back and forth through the park to get to the train station. So obviously we could cheese the game right now and say, all right, we're going to make this a place where we make lots of money. We don't need to do that though. We've increased our entertainment here. We've made it a nicer place. We've added additional buffer to the rest of Myrtle Park. And even though this is very loud, you see some homes upgrading back there, and I'm guessing our property values are increasing here as well, which can be seen as a positive and a negative. That said, we've still kept some of the values lower, which means that we have workforce housing that now has high capacity transit available to it on either side of the neighborhood. So if you want to live in a transit paradise, this is probably as close as it gets. So I want to, again, look here and make sure that we're not backing up. We've got a couple of problems, so we are going to likely need to take a look at this. Looks like it didn't work out entirely as I had hoped, and maybe we need to have that secondary track. Also want to make sure we severed some power lines and never reconnected them, and apparently we're okay. This is a redundant connection. We still need to reestablish this. What we are going to do is really take a look at our interchange for one quick second. Let's see what it looks like here. Look at all those movements. That is absolutely wonderful. We're seeing freight, passengers, and public transport and cargo vehicles all using this new interchange. We've got our new one over here. Seeing the exact same thing. Good utilization. So 2 interchanges and a gigantic rail network overhaul. And speaking of that large rail overhaul, I feel like we have to address this. So I had to go back and take a look at what this looked like at the beginning of the episode, because I feel like I was missing something. And what I was missing is that we didn't have a free range of movements throughout this entire build. In fact, if you look, we're actually restricting a couple movements through here, but it doesn't matter. Even though some of these movements are present, they're not really getting used. So now coming back to the current build, I think we know what to do. So I'm going to pop out and just delete a whole bunch of the stuff that we just did. Everything is pretty much wrong, which stinks, but sometimes you've got to take your lumps and be okay starting over. So even our utility infrastructure here is in the wrong spot, which really stinks. So even this connection here, this needs to connect to the track that's furthest from the highway, not the one closest to it. So very little of this is salvageable. So we're going to take this all the way back to here and just give ourselves a good faith redo on this. Okay, so we've got our tracks extended out a little ways, and where I want to start is right here, because I'm not sure that this is going to line up nicely. And this bridge looked so nice before. We have to make it look nice again. So part of this is going to be just being patient slow and methodical with this bridge building, and maybe it's not even that methodical. Maybe it's just getting lucky because it looks like this worked really well. Except for that segment, which, you know, that might actually fix itself once we draw a little bit of this out. So we'll go up a little bit, a couple of tiles, and it's off. I can live with that little bit of imperfection, and I hope that you can as well. I think sometimes we gotta let things go, and this is one of those times. Now I really want to find, there we are, just our curved road tool, a nice even connection there. Hoping I get this one. I do. Perfect. And now we're gonna make this connection into either side of this track. So again, we're losing that movement into this facility, but it's not that big of a deal. It wasn't really used anyway. Oh, those are nice connections. Those are really nice connections. They're long connections that take a while to make the connections, and they're gentle. I think that those are going to work really well for us. I'm going to fix up our power lines here. And then in honor of fixing some of this up, I'm noticing a couple of oddball things with our interchange, and I think I'm going to clean them up right now, and then I will touch on what they were as soon as I'm done. Okay, so I've made a number of changes here. I've basically redone this entire bridge structure, so I guess some engineer got fired, because it certainly wasn't the planner's fault, because I'm not designing a bridge. I don't know what I'm doing. So here we go. We've designed this so that it has these, I'm not exactly sure what you would call this, but an enclosure, I guess, above the bridge. It's not perfectly level, but it's pretty darn close, and we dug this down so that it is consistent all the way across. I also decided to finish this local connection here so you get an idea of what we're gearing for. Our stadium's going to fit back here, and that'll be what we focus on in the next one, along with detailing this area and some parking and things of that nature. We've also finished off this bridge, made our connections. Everything's looking really good. Smoothed this out so it looks a little less crazy, and I think what we need to do is celebrate this by having a brief city tour. Okay, and I don't always go back and clean things up like this, but I think I should make a habit of it because the changes here are just dramatically better. It looks a lot cleaner in my estimation. That said, none of this matters if it doesn't function, and I think that's where we need to end this, is checking out our traffic flow, and we're at 84%, not too bad. And when we look at our train tracks here, you'll see that there's absolutely no red, not even red. That is impressive in my mind. I'm going to speed this up to see where this bounces around. 84, 85, that's pretty darn good. And still, nothing in the red here. Everything is working appropriately, and that is exactly what we want to see. So I think we're going to leave it here. Things are functioning well, and I'm pleased with the results. I hope that you are as well. If you are, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, and I cannot wait to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.